If I were to move again to Malaysia in 2025, there's one thing I'd do differently, and that is to slow down. Those first few weeks, they don't need to be perfect, but they do shape how comfortable and settled you'll feel later. And that idea, slowing down, is exactly what the video is about today. Let's make a start and go through some of the common mistakes that I see expats sometimes make when they move to Malaysia. Okay, let's take a load off and have a little chat about what I'd do differently if I was to move to Malaysia again. The question is, where are we? This is Perdana Botanical Garden, one of my favourite calm spots to come in Kuala Lumpur. Quiet, green and peaceful, and a reminder of how calming Malaysia can be when you take things at your own pace. When you arrive in Malaysia, you feel like you know exactly where you want to live. Kuala Lumpur feels totally different to Penang. Penang feels completely different to Johor Bahru. And places like Malacca, Sabah, Sarawak, Ipoh, they have their own totally different rhythm going on. When I first arrived, I kind of felt like my mind was made up based on the research and the online information that I could find. But what I found was once I arrived here and had my boots on the ground, so to speak, the feel of the place mattered so much more. And if I'm being honest with you, locking in a location and place too early is one of the most common mistakes I've seen, not just in Malaysia, but also in Southeast Asia. So being flexible with your location and taking your time if possible is definitely something to consider. So instead, and if possible, I'd start with a service department or a short-term rental. Give yourself a few weeks to explore, walk around, try different neighbourhoods, maybe even try visiting other locations in Malaysia if you're unsure exactly where you'd like to settle. Okay, let's move on and continue our little talk about choosing where to live. So I wouldn't choose to live somewhere just to save a little bit of money. It's so tempting to see an online listing and think, wow, that place is 300 ringgit cheaper. Perfect. But what you need to be aware of is that your environment will have a much bigger impact on your lifestyle than a small price difference. There's a Park City, Bangsar, Mont Kiara, TDDI, KLCC, all completely different environments. And then compare those to Penang's coastline, Johor Bahru's access to Singapore, and Malacca and Ipoh's heritage and slower pace of life. It can feel completely and totally different. So my advice to you is to ask yourself the following questions. Number one, what does my ideal day look like? Number two, where are my hobbies located? For example, if you go to the gym, where are the gyms located? How many of them are there? Number three, where do I go to eat and drink? And number four, what type of pace of life do I want? This is an example of a real way to choose a location, not just the cheapest number on the screen. And if you're specifically looking for areas to live in Kuala Lumpur, I've made a full breakdown to compare 3 areas, and I'll link that at the end of the video. I wouldn't delay my week 1 setup. This is the unglamorous but essential part that will build the foundation for your first few weeks here. For my day-to-day payments, I rely on 2 methods that are local. The first one I go for is touch and go debit cards. This is one of the most popular financial instruments in Malaysia, and then also one of the local banks. I also use Wise for international money transfer and also payments for their currency conversion rates, and then also BigPay, which is a fintech bank that I use for travel in Southeast Asia. So once you're settled, you can look into these options. Malaysia has great local banking options. Foreign bank cards also work here, but just be mindful that there will be a small percentage spread in terms of extra charges. With regards regards to local SIM cards, it's best to get that sorted from day one if possible, because as with most countries, things operate here on one-time passwords, OTPs. And healthcare, as covered in one of my previous videos, is genuinely world-class here. So get familiar with your local options, whether those are clinics or private hospitals, because having that awareness will really help you from the get-go. Also, I would build my social circle as early as I possibly can. This was a big turning point for me. Once I joined a running group and then a tennis group later on, my regular routines became very consistent. And whatever you're into, whether that's hiking, running, cooking classes, yoga, going to the gym, etc., there's a group here waiting for you. And slowing down socially means that you meet people naturally through the things that you are passionate about and enjoy. What a lovely spot here, just by this little river. Okay, next up, with regards to transportation, I wouldn't rush into getting a car. Sometimes people assume that they will need a car straight away, but Malaysia has a lot of great transportation options. Grab taxi being reliable, Bolt taxi usually being a little bit cheaper, AirAsia Move from the AirAsia company, a great little app that's underrated, and InDrive, where you offer the price to the prospective taxi driver. Plus the MRT, LRT, monorail and buses. And also there is a great train infrastructure here throughout Malaysia, and many short haul domestic flights that are very efficient and very cost effective. So if you're living centrally, I would say wait minimally 3 to 6 months, maybe even 1 year, before considering buying a car. Slowing down here saves you money and also helps you understand your real routine. And you realise that you might only need a car occasionally, not full time. Because if you live centrally and you've got great infrastructure around you with the public transport, then perhaps it might not be something you might need. You could even consider a car hire if you want to use it for, say, a long weekend for a trip. Just things to consider and for you to figure out. Welcome to my little humble abode of a bamboo hut here. I would learn the local shortcuts as early as I can, because this will make my daily life much smoother. Think supermarkets, Jaya Grocer, NSK, Lotus. You get better value depending on what it is you're shopping for. Touch and Go for tolls and parking. Petronas or Shell if you're looking for gas station. Small clinics if you need regular medical appointments, or if you feel that you want to, you can go to one of the private hospitals. And as best you can, avoid the taxis during the rainy hours, because the fares will jump up quite considerably. So see if you can use the public transport options. If I were to do it again, I would try and learn these things within the first 2 weeks of arrival. I'd also explore more of Malaysia earlier, because Malaysia is more than just one lifestyle. Exploring early helps you understand where you feel most connected. Here we are at the Sunken Garden. This is a beautiful spot to take a load off and to be immersed in the nature. Next up, and for me, I would lock in my fitness, food and wellness routines sooner rather than later. For me, my routines, they feel like an anchor. They make a new country feel like home to me. For me, it's gym, tennis, swimming and running groups. For yourself, it may be other types of activities that make you feel grounded. So for me, I feel like the sooner you build your own routine, the sooner Malaysia will feel like your home. Okay, and next I would be more selective about the advice that you take on board. When you move here, everybody has an opinion about life here. But slowing down means filtering. Not everybody shares the same routines or priorities and lifestyle. So take advice, but make decisions based on your own values and your own way that you lead your daily life. Okie dokie, back to the apartment And what a lovely morning that was today. So if I moved to Malaysia again, the biggest change I'd make would be a simple one. I wouldn't try and get everything perfect by week 1. I'd slow down and I would explore at my own pace. I would build routines before commitments, and I'd give myself more time to understand different locations and different communities. Malaysia genuinely gets better the longer you're here. So if you're moving here soon, give yourself permission not to have everything figured out by week 1. I hope this gives you a clearer picture of what actually matters during your first few weeks here in Malaysia. For the biggest mistakes that people may make when moving to Malaysia, you can watch my 7 costly mistakes video, which can be found here. And that video I mentioned about those 3 different neighbourhoods to explore in Kuala Lumpur, you can find that linked into the description. And if you want more lived, experienced content here in Malaysia and Southeast Asia, feel free to follow along and subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. I upload new videos every week about this part of the world. And if you wish to support the channel further, you can do so by buying me a coffee, and that can be found via the link below. My name is Mr. Henners, and I'm off to a new location next. Where is that place? You'll have to wait till the next video. Maybe it's somewhere that's got tuk-tuks. Feel free to follow along, and I'll see you in the next one.